In this video, we're going to be talking about the Black Myth Wukong trailer that was just published a few days ago and what our impressions are. If you haven't seen it yet, it's absolutely outstanding. In this video, we're going to go over what our thoughts are and give you guys a little bit of information about this game. If you haven't heard of Black Myth Wukong before, it is an action RPG that is loosely qualifies as a Soulslike that's being developed by Game Science Interactive Technology. And it's coming to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and Microsoft Windows. I think the time frame is sometime in 2023, roughly. And the game is running on the Unreal 5 engine. This is actually the first game I've seen running on this engine, and it absolutely looks stunning. The graphical detail, even through the compression on YouTube, is some that I just absolutely haven't seen, particularly when you're looking at some of the statues and the intricate details. It's absolutely mind-blowing, the level of detail, and I think because the size of this studio is rather small compared to some of these other game studios out there, that if this is what we can sort of expect from Unreal 5 moving forward with some of these other companies and their resources, I think we're in for a real treat in the gaming industry in terms of what games are going to be made and how they're going to look. Black Myth Wukong is loosely based on the 16th century Chinese novel Journey to the West, which is largely regarded as one of the most prominent or popular novels to come out of Asia historically of all time. One of the main characters of that story is named Sun Wukong, or the Monkey King, who is proficient in martial arts and gains immense power and has the ability to transform into various creatures, which you can actually see in the gameplay trailer here as he transforms into a bat in one scene. It remains to be seen just how many creatures he's going to be able to transform into, because in the story there are 72 different shapes he can take, but it would be absolutely amazing if you could do all of them, though that is probably unlikely given that this is an indie developer. Moving along to the combat a little bit, getting away from the story and the setting, you can see very clearly that the game is very Souls-inspired. It has a stamina bar when attacking, dodging, running, etc. It's very minimal here. Kind of reminds me of Sekiro in some ways because of the fact that he's using one weapon the whole time, which is the staff. But you're going to have to manage that stamina when you're fighting, and you obviously have, looks like, a resource there in order to use abilities. He even heals from a healing gourd, etc., kind of the way Sekiro does. So there is definitely that Asian influence to this game that's very clear. Another aspect of the combat, besides the Souls-likeness to it that I really locked onto from watching the trailer, is the focus on boss fights or mini boss fights. We don't really know exactly. Some of them could be mini bosses. Seem to be a huge part of this game. There are obviously enemies in between there that he's fighting during certain aspects, but they show a lot of bosses and mini boss type enemies, and a lot of them are huge in stature, particularly the dragon fight. It really gives you a Monster Hunter World type feel where the focus is on these challenging, huge, epic encounters rather than maybe specific, level design and areas in between these counters. There could be a bigger focus on these fights rather than that. It's very hard to tell based on the limited gameplay that we've seen. We don't have a great sense of the world, if it's interconnected, how that all works. But it does feel like there is a very strong emphasis on these boss fights, and that could be something that separates it a little bit from the Souls games. Obviously, Souls games have a huge focus on these. But if the world is designed in such a way that you're going from boss encounter to boss encounter with maybe just a couple enemies in between, it could be different in that way. Those things said, I think I really have three main concerns about this game. The first is, how the hell is this game going to run on last gen? That means Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Looking at these visuals, and then there are some places, if you're really analyzing the trailer really, really closely, there are frame drops even in this footage. I'm guessing this was played on a beastly computer. How is a PlayStation 4 going to run it without, or, an Xbox One without serious reduction of quality of graphics? I mean, these platforms are how old at this point? And by the time this game comes out next year or the year after, I think it's slated for 2023 roughly, I just don't see how they can possibly run it. I don't know why you would even be aimed at it at that point if it's coming out that far down the road. And I just cannot see that working. I mean, for all we know, this game could have struggle playing on current gen. You might only be able to get 30 FPS on PS5 or Xbox Series X on Unreal 5 at that quality of graphics. We just don't know. So it's a real concern how this is going to play, because even on a beastly PC, you're seeing frame drops. It's still early, obviously, but that's one concern. Secondly, the combat. The combat looks great, but you have what looks to be one weapon. I think if I had one complaint about Sekiro, it would be that I used the same weapon the entire game. It would have been cool at least even to just get different swords, even if I'm still using a sword. We don't know, obviously, how that's going to work in this game, but if you're using the same weapon, one has to worry that maybe the combat might get repetitive without, a variety of different things you can do. Obviously, they can add skills and abilities to mix that up, which they do in the video. But you're wondering, can that carry it through the whole game? Or are you going to be sitting there wishing, man, I just wish I had a few more weapons? It's a concern. It may not be a problem, but it's something I'm slightly worried about. And lastly, just that this is an indie game from an indie studio that doesn't have a publisher or anything in the West. So you're wondering, even though it looks good, how's it going to play? Is it going to feel clunky? What's the budget? How long is this game going to be? How much of the trailer, is actually of the game? These things have yet to be answered. Sometimes when you see trailers like this, they could be showing a big part of the game because they just don't have the budget and resources. So, there could be some disappointment in the general scope of the game if it's, doesn't have a huge budget. So time will only tell there. The last thing I want to talk about before I end this video is that this game may or may not have cooperative online play. We don't know for sure that it has it, and we don't know for sure that it won't have it. I feel like this is something that they're going to try and do if they can, and won't do if they can't. Obviously, we won't know for a while. But the producer of the game is a fan of single-player experiences that likes the online cooperative element to be included. That reminds us very much of Souls, obviously. So I'm going to guess that if they can get it into this game, it will be, and obviously that's a game changer. If this game goes from being single-player only to being able to be cooperated, that's going to be huge for this game. I think that would drastically increase sales. So I can't wait to see if that gets added, and we'll obviously update you guys if that's the case. So what did you guys think about the trailer? Is the Unreal Engine 5 absolutely amazing or what? I absolutely was just blown away by it. I can't believe how good it looks. The detail is incredible. What did you guys like? What did you not like about the trailer? Is there anything you're concerned about, or are you pretty much just totally hyped for this game? Let us know in the comments.